Can you tell what's wrong with my welder just by the way it sounds? Some of you probably picked it up really quick. Some of you have no idea, and that's okay. Today, the idea is to do things wrong so we can learn what it's like to do things right. That didn't quite come out right. Sometimes, to learn how to do things right, you need to do them wrong a few times. That way you can learn what wrong sounds like or what wrong looks like. And you can troubleshoot your issues easier later on. What I'm attempting to do is take these 2 pieces of 1/4 inch material, they're just scraps, and we're just going to do a fillet weld in there, and we're going to do, hopefully, we'll do the correct setting in the middle, we'll do the wrong setting on one side, and we'll do the opposite wrong setting on the other side. Now to start with, I just set the welder to the settings in the chart on the inside of the door. We're not clamping anything, we're not doing anything fancy, we're just putting beads down to, it's like basically practice, just burn metal. So here we go, we're just gonna do voltage, wire speed, I'm gonna try and get my travel speed correct, and we're just gonna do it how I think you're supposed to do it. It's not bad. Sounds a little bit of pop going on there. This one is with voltage turned down 1 notch. And I'll show you what notches are on my welder here in a minute, because it's not a fancy welder, it's really simple. Let's turn it down more. It's still not bad. Let's turn it way down. There you go. That's a bad, wow, that's way too low voltage. Now let's go all the way up. Do you hear how it was kind of soft? The sound was soft, not crisp. It kind of, I don't know how to explain it. Maybe there's a soft hiss in there and kind of a crackly noise, right? Try it again. Yeah. Yeah, it's got a lot of soft hiss. It's just kind of, it's too much voltage. It's kind of just, it's making like a puddle instead of a bead. Now, I can't go much higher. Maybe I'll grab a thinner piece of metal and set it way too high and see what that's like. So this one right here in the middle is the one that was the recommended wire speed and voltage for 1/4 inch material. And you can see it's pretty nice. It's pretty flat. We got some spatter. Maybe I'll have to go back and look at the footage and see where that spatter came from. Was it from this? Was it from this booger right here? I don't know, but this was the recommended voltage and wire speed. This one was 1 notch down on voltage. This one was 2 notches down on voltage. And you can see, you can still make a passable weld with both of those, but you can see they're a little more wavy. I tried to be consistent with my movements. This one, you know, make them all consistent. But it's a little more difficult when your voltage is a little off. So, this one was with the voltage all the way down at 1. The very lowest setting, and it just wouldn't melt the base material, and it was just burning the wire. The wire would come out and burn and just, you know, the wire would come out and burn off, melt back, and then more wire would come out and it would melt off. So it's just, it wasn't hot enough to make an arc to the metal. Now this side, let's see, which I did this one first. This was on its highest setting, and I said it was kind of, it had a lot of hiss to it with some pops in there. You can see it looks really smooth, but it's not. It's a really wide puddle. You see how this is pretty flat. It's got a little ridge in the middle and these small lines from where the weld puddle cools. This one, you can see it's got a big fat puddle. Look at where I stopped. Look how big that is. I mean, that's you know, the joke is you're always laying dimes, but not like that. Look, it's almost the size of my pinky nail. Okay, so even though my travel speed, I think, was about the same, it was mushing out that puddle so bad because there was just too much voltage. All right, this is my welder. It's just a Miller-Matic. It's a 185, so I believe that's 185 amps. This wire speed is just 0 to 100, so it's 100%. I have no idea what the wire actual inches per minute is. Voltage is just 1 through 6. So when I'm on this 1/4 inch stuff, I had it at 5 and 70. No idea how many volts, no idea how many inches per minute. Need some better lights in my shop. Okay. Now that I've blinded myself with my wall light, let's try and we're going to turn down and turn up the wire speed this time. First, I'm going to tack it on the ends like I did before with the proper settings. Now we're going to do wire speed up. We'll probably do one here with the wire speed about 10 higher than what it's supposed to be, and then we'll really crank it up. And then we'll do 10 lower than what it's supposed to be, and then we'll really turn it down. I'm going to do my best to angle this so you can see it on camera good. Okay, so that was about 10 over. And this was way cranked up, like 20 or 30 over. And I just tried to compensate with my weave, and it just got worse and worse, and that was just terrible. And that was bad. You can put more heat in by putting more wire speed. That's not always a good thing. Now this end, this is the wire speed 10 down, and you could very quickly tell the difference, right? It just wasn't enough wire. Like the spot is small. And then of course this end one, I couldn't even do that. It was just hissing. It was just barely melting the metal. Now me personally, this was a little too much, but a lot of times I end up turning the wire speed up on this welder just a little bit, like 4 to 5. Okay, and I tend to get better welds. However, this was the original one, right to the chart, and dang, that looks nice. So maybe I shouldn't do that. Although, maybe at the end here, this is the 10 over one. Maybe we'll do another one right here where it's 5 over and see how that looks. That's kind of my sweet spot a lot of times when I'm welding. So now what's the third test going to be? We've messed with wire speed and voltage. I mean, those are really the only 2 settings on this welder. What can we do? Well, I am going to turn the gas off. Right now it's got gas in the line. You're going to see how quickly the gas dissipates and you don't get any shielding anymore, and you'll be able to hear what's going on. You'll be able to see it at the end too. And then let's see, at the ends, maybe we'll turn the gas up way too high. You get too much gas flow. And what that does is it can blow your arc away from where it's supposed to be. And then a third weld, I don't know what I'm going to do. I have to think about that for a moment. So let's do these two first. Okay, now you heard what happened when we got down here and the gas ran out. So that not only happens when you literally run out of gas, but if you don't keep your nozzle clean, so we got a lot of spatter and stuff in there, then it will impede the gas flow, which I think I was having a problem with this a few weeks ago when I was working on the Mustang. Although that's not on all the way either. Did you see that? My nozzle was sitting there. It should have been all the way on. That makes a difference too. That makes a difference on how your gas flows out the end of your nozzle. Now, this end, I don't think I could really get the gas to blow the arc enough. We probably need to do a smaller weld on smaller material at lower settings to be able to blow the arc away. I don't really see much problem other than my own waviness here, because I was trying to watch what was happening in the puddle instead of watching where my weld was going. So what should we do down here? I'm going to hold my gun a long ways away, and I'm going to put it really close. And you're going to see what happens there. Again, we're back on the settings recommended on the chart. See how much wire is sticking out? I'd say that's excessive. Yes, it welded, but there's a lot of spatter. It's harder to control, and it could burn back your wire, and your gas coverage is less. It's just undesirable. All right, now let's get right in close. All right, I didn't like that one. I couldn't even see what I was doing because my nozzle was covering my work. Now I managed to put a bead in there, and I couldn't see, obviously. So this down here is not fused properly. We got a line that's like undercut. I don't know. It's just not a good weld. You also risk damaging your tip because you can build up a lot of extra heat and you can build up spatter. You can bridge this gap, and that will really block your gas flow. And you can melt your nozzle. I've done that. I don't think I have the one that I melted, but I had melted a big old teardrop shape out like right on the side here because I just was welding too hot, too long, too close, and just made a mess. All right, we'll try this one more time with trying to blow the arc away from the material with too high gas pressure. This is like a 12 gauge, 11 gauge, 12 gauge, probably 12 gauge. Okay, that might not have shown up well on camera, but I could actually see the arc blowing out this way. There was like a tongue of fire is what it looked like through my helmet. And you see where that's all black? See that black soot there? So I think that's what's happening. Let's see, which one did I do? This was the one. Here's the one where the gas ran out. We got some carbon here too, some soot. And yeah, that arc was going all over because there was nothing to shield it. And all the impurities were just messing with the arc. Now this end, this is where we had too much gas flow. Okay, I can see it now. You can see it. It's a little tongue of flame right there is what it looks like. And here too. So this was a little bit over on gas, and this was way over on gas. So I'm curious if we were to cut through this and etch it, what that penetration would look like. I don't have any etchant, so I'm not going to do that today. Maybe we'll do that in another video, but kind of curious. Obviously, we didn't penetrate all the way through, so my travel speed on my welder, like my own arm moving, was probably off a little too. I guess we could do that too. Let's do one more. Let's do one more test here. Okay, now I'm going to start over here. I'm going to travel fast, what I think is too fast. Again, we have the welder set to the recommendations on the chart. And then over here, we will go slow, slow. Okay, so what did we end up with? I don't like either of these. This one is a thin weld, okay? And a lot of times when you're moving too fast or you're too cold or both, the center will rise up and make a really tall ridge. This laid down, but that is probably barely hanging together. I mean, it shows heat on the back side, but not very much. And actually, we have a gap in here, and I can't see any weld. Whoop, that's a little hot. All right. Now this side, let me spin this around, get my hand on it. Okay, this side, I did it what I think was too slow. And thick material like this, I could probably get away with it. I also did not weave very much up and down. I just kind of stuck it in there and moved slow. You can tell, if you can see, there's lots of small, small lines. All those little freeze lines where the puddle is freezing. And when I ended, I was pointing here. So can you see that the end of the puddle is up here? But my wire was about at the back end of this little slag puddle here. So I was melting, like I was depositing wire, and my arc was sitting on it and continuing to try to melt that puddle and keep it molten, and not putting the arc into the parent material here to melt these two pieces together. All right, just for fun, I'm going to try and do a really nice weld right in the middle with the welder, with what I think my favorite settings are. So the wire speed just a little higher than the chart, and I'm going to just try and make a nice weld here. And you get to see. You can criticize me or make fun of me or whatever. We'll see how it turns out. That was a bad start. Now you can see this is where I first started, and it did the snap, crackle, pop deal. And that could be either because, well, I don't know. I hear this happen a lot. Not with myself, not just with myself, but a lot of other people too. Is you first set in there and you start your arc, and it just does snap, crackle, pop, and sounds terrible, and I don't know. So I just moved over and started again. You can see where I started here. And then I moved, and I think I moved a little too fast to start with because I got this little dip. And let's see. It's not terrible. Let me look down the profile. Yeah, so we got a ridge here. And we got a little bit of undercut here, which just means that some of this material on this top one melted away. The bottom, it's okay. I got a little wavy in here. I'm not a professional welder, you can tell that, but I can melt metal. Again, this end puddle is kind of like this one, right? If you could tell, I paused here at the end to let this crater fill up just a little more. Because sometimes you will get a deep crater at the end. See, do I have any? Still hot. Well, especially like this was the too high of voltage, right? Is that what this one is? It's just wire speed. Rewind, tell me what it was. But this is like a crater here. And these can crack, especially this little spot in the end where you get a little slag. If that's a pit from where you ended your weld, those can crack. A lot of times they will crack. You can see that one. See if I can get on camera. There's a little spot right there. It's like a little line. It's a little tiny groove. If this was a bigger weld and that was there, I mean, that could crack, and it'd crack right through your weld. A lot of production welders, especially important critical pieces, you might hear them weld, 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 stop, and zap one more spot just to fill that little crater. Some welders, you can set that automatically. So I hope that's helpful to you. If you're learning something new and you have the opportunity to fail on purpose, try it. Do it wrong a few different ways, and then think about that. And then next time you go and want to do it right, when you hear or see one of those things that you know is wrong, you can stop right there, fix it, and then move on. I don't think I weld often enough on enough different materials in enough different positions, overhead, vertical, all that stuff, to really know when I'm doing a really good weld on my projects, like my Mustang. There's a lot of welds I ground out and re-welded because I wasn't comfortable with them. Were they okay? Probably, but I'd rather know and not have to worry about it when I'm driving that thing down the road. Now, of course, this doesn't apply to just welding, right? Body work, painting. This was a piece that I used just to test what happens when I take a body hammer and a dolly and try and make a shape. I basically just tried to make a kind of a half round, and a few times I hit this thing extra hard to see what would happen. It's just like 20 gauge. Maybe it's a little thinner. But I wanted to see what would happen. It's ugly, but it's a round thing. I learned stuff by doing it. I'm not going to use this on anything. And I'm probably going to try and make a ridge from here back because I want to see what happens. I don't know. I got more body hammers in that kit. I don't know how to properly use them. So I'm going to learn by making an absolute mess of this whole piece of sheet metal. So if you found this useful, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know what part you've been struggling with. If you think that I need to practice more with my own welding, you're right. If you think that you have an idea for me, if you saw something in here that you disagree with, go ahead and put it in the comments. We'll talk about it. In the meantime, if you like it, go ahead and subscribe. We're going to do a few of these type videos, but most of the time I'm working on my Mustang, so go check out those videos. The next thing I want to do is cut and weld the axle housing. And by the time you see this video, I hope that my axles have been ordered, as well as the differential, and we can weld that thing up, get the axles in, get it assembled, and make sure that it is what it's supposed to be, because it does have to fit into that car with the wheels and tires I already own. All right, that's enough for now. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time.